topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending, where we believe in a better life through better business. Here, we help you aspire to greatness, achieve your goals, and ascend to new heights. Whether you're starting, scaling, or exiting, we're here to empower you with inspiring stories, enlightening discussions, and transformative resources to help you accelerate your success. Now, it's time for Entrepreneurs Ascending. Hello, welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending. This is your host, Matt Barbie. I am also the CEO. Where am I? All right, there's my sign. Also the host or the CEO of Time for Success. And we help companies every day build the kind of business that gives them and their employees better lives. And so today, to help build a better life, I really wanted to talk about sales. Sales is one of those topics that really can be kind of divisive. I talk with a lot of business owners that want a strong salesperson, but they can actually they do okay in sales themselves, but they don't necessarily have much strategy behind how they sell. And when they try to bring on another salesperson, they really don't understand kind of the basics of the sales process. So they flounder. And so if you've ever tried to hire a salesperson and it didn't work out, this discussion is for you. Really, really need to pay attention to this. I was doing some sales training recently with an employee, and they were watching another team member who had been in the industry for close to 40 years. Well, the person that had been in the industry for close to 40 years had a certain swagger, a certain amount of confidence. And Joseph Luckett, shout out to you, but we always kind of talk about this and kind of find it funny, but we joke around that you can say anything confidently enough and you'll get people to buy into it. Yeah, of course, it doesn't always apply to everything, but it is pretty true. You kind of do the Jedi trick of, these are not the droids you're looking for. This is the plumbing that you're looking for. These are the coaching services that you're looking for. And people are like, oh, okay, sure. But if you have new people coming on, or especially whenever they're just at least new to your organization, maybe they've got that experience in the past of working in the industry, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're confident in what you do. And so if we aren't able to actually help them with their sales skills, then they're going to flounder. They're not going to be confident. So giving them those tools that bring people through the process is key. And there's a consultative method that actually there's a lot of research. Thousands and thousands of calls went into the research of this method, and it's a very consultative method. And what I like about it is actually brings your prospect really through the thought process that they probably should have had about what you're offering, but they oftentimes don't, because they actually don't necessarily have enough time to just ponder all the aspects of whatever problem they have or whatever opportunity they have that your solution is supposed to help them with. But before we get into that, take a moment. When I say salesperson, what do you think of? Often when I ask this question at an event, people are talking about the sleazy salesman. People are saying, oh yeah, think about a used car salesman. And I tell you, I see so many of these sales gurus come on, and you know what? And they might actually hit some sales numbers that are great. That's fantastic. But they also are oftentimes like killing relationships, giving businesses bad names, and it's just so sleazy that it doesn't build trust. And when I work with companies, I work with people who want to build long-term trust. They want to be able to get referrals, and not just be in the moment when somebody, when you sell somebody and they're kind of still in that euphoria of buying something. But we want our customers, our clients, after they buy, to think, hey, you know what? That I actually was educated enough about that decision that I don't necessarily need to have buyer's remorse, because I feel good about this. I feel like we're going in a good direction with this. And that can apply to anything from the services businesses to professional services and whatever that might be. But if your customer has properly thought through the issues, and they're not thinking about, oh, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even ask about this. Now, afterwards, if they're not coming up with more obstacles and more reasons to have not bought, then you've probably done a good job of helping them make sure that they're making the best buying decision for them. And that's actually how I define sales. It's not just collecting the money, getting the cash. Somebody showed up to be sold, so you better sell them. It's about helping somebody make a good buying decision about something that improves their life in some way. And I might even throw in there at an appropriate value. Of course, I'm big on adding the value and charging what you're worth. And oftentimes when I work with companies, we have to look at, okay, maybe we need to charge a little bit more. Maybe there's not enough margin here. Maybe you are more of a boutique where you should charge more. Of course, that's part of the conversation when I'm working with folks. I'm not necessarily saying that you shouldn't be charging what you're worth, but of course, it's going to be at a value that your target market, your best types of customers are going to appreciate, right? So the helping somebody make a good buying decision about something that improves their life in some way. I also am of the belief that if your solution is really not going to help them, um, it, it maybe is not going to help bring the value to them that it should, for your target market, you might consider just walking away, or maybe even, actually, and this is more important, know who the other people are in your space, who your competitors are. Because if you can understand who their target market is and honestly tell somebody, hey, you know what, we're not the best fit for you, but I can introduce you to somebody who is, then you're most likely going to get the referrals from that person because they know that you are somebody that they can trust. And who knows, maybe if it comes around where they're the target market for you, if they are going to be a better fit for you, they're going to be more likely to call, especially if you can help them understand what that is, and keep up communication, keep up your relationship with them. I've even done that with coaching prospects. There's some folks like, hey, you know what? There are some great veteran resources out there that are absolutely free. If somebody's just getting started off the ground and they don't have a lot of money to invest in coaching in a way that's going to be able to generate a fast enough ROI for them, because they're also time bound, so they're not even going to be able to really implement a lot of the stuff that we say to implement. I mean, there's situations like that. They're just drowning so much, and they can't take the time to step back and really do it. I'll say, hey, you know what? There's Score. Score is great. If you're a startup, because it's free. So I might say that might be a good choice for you. And like I said, there's a lot of like veteran business coaching services out there that, I'll be honest, like, hey, if you can get it for free, now sometimes you get what you pay for, but it typically gives you a strong foundation, for at least where you're at. So I'm happy to send people where I think it's going to be a good fit, or if I just know that like they're just not going to be somebody that I want to work with. If I really think that I know another coach that they're going to just mesh with better, and that at the end of the day it's going to be 6 months from now, and maybe we're just not connecting because maybe the personalities don't fit or whatever, then I'd prefer not to be. I mean, in my industry, I'd prefer not to be dragging them around with that. But I'd highly encourage you to think about what that means for your industry. So let's though get into some of the actual strategy for sales. Now, strategy is making sure that your approach as you go to market is going to help set you apart. It's going to differentiate you. It's going to make you the best choice for those types of people that you really excel in working with, right? And so I recommend having a consultative strategy in most cases. Even with home services, I know a lot of times these companies just to kind of hire as many people and to burn and churn because they don't really actually have like a good process for bringing on A grade clients. So all they do, or I'm sorry, are A grade employees. If you're struggling with actually bringing on A grade employees and you think the only way to hire good people is to just burn and churn until somebody sticks, well, that's a heck of a lot of wasted time and money and effort and probably even rapport with your prospects. Then let's talk. Let's talk. Um, I would actually recommend too. There's a book called Top Grading, and I've had this book for years. I think I've lost the cover. But Top Grading is a fantastic book. I use a lot of these principles with my clients, and if you're just listening to this podcast, you can't see how ginormous this book is, but there's a ton of great content in it. So, we're always working on trying to up our game in terms of how we help customers as well. We also have some specific tools and softwares that we use that our clients get special discounts on and whatnot. So please reach out if you're struggling in this area. But when we get the right kind of people, we want to be able to give them the right kind of process. And so first, I want you to think what are the questions that are going to really get to the heart of the challenges that my customers are having. What is going to help them actually fully think through, like, and actually sit in the moment a little bit with what their problems are. Just pulling out a presentation and going through a brochure about your benefits and the features, sure, you're going to close some deals, but you're probably not going to close as many deals as if you actually have a strategy, a consultative strategy when it comes to your sales. So let's talk about spin selling. Okay. And that's, the title of this episode is putting the spin in sales. Well, spin selling, there's a book called by the same name by Neil Rackham that came out years ago. And again, it was developed off of 35,000 sales calls. They actually listened to them, they scored them, they looked at what was the most effective. And spin doesn't stand for putting some sort of unethical twist on anything like politics. A lot of times they talk about the spin in politics. Well, that's different. They just created an acronym. They just needed an acronym. They had some words to put it together. And actually, I think they struggled with the N in spin. So they came up with situation, problem, implications, and then need payoff. In the book, I think he talks a little bit about how it's like, oh well, need payoff. It kind of works. It's better than SPIP, where you just pay off. That doesn't really roll off the tongue quite the same way. So, what does it mean to ask or to dig into the situation at hand with a prospect? Well, the situation questions, it's about, actually, let me take a step back. So what I love about spin is that it uses timely, insightful questions, and it allows that buyer to more clearly and deeply understand and communicate their needs, their issues, and then how you can help them. So when you get good at this, you actually have their own words to use to cater your message to them in a way that they're going to connect with more. And if they're going to connect with it more, they're going to trust you more because you listen to them. There's actually a psychological principle that if you use at least 3 words from somebody that you're talking with to reflect back to them what they are saying, it's like a trust hack. It's like, "Oh, man, this person really gets me. They're really listening to me. They really understand what I'm saying," right? So we wanna have that information to use, and I love that spin helps us to do that. And it really ends up that you're kind of more of a guide, and they trust you as more of a guide. You're not coming in saying, well, you need to buy this thing because of these benefits, just without really understanding them. If somebody feels like you not truly getting them and you're just trying to push a product, then you're in selling mode. You want to be with them. You want to be building trust. You want to be in education mode as much as you can before you actually get to price. And that's one of the things I was telling this employee, that if you do the work to educate before you really get to price, before you really get into all that discussion, then they look at you as the expert. Once you start throwing around features and benefits and prices before they know that you've heard them and they're unique, because everybody's got a unique situation. No matter how similar it looks for you, everybody's got their unique situation. At least that's what they want to believe. But that's also their perspective, right? They only live their own lives, right? That's it. We just live our own life. So I always recommend, okay, so I love the word grok. You have to grok first. You have to understand first. Grok, I know that Elon Musk is using it now, which I find frustrating because, it's kind of the word that I like and I've used for years, and now he's using it with his AI. But grok is truly a deep understanding. And so spin helps us to have a deep understanding, a deep kind of almost beyond empathetic understanding of the people that we're talking with. And guess what? Strong question. According to the research, a strong question strategy can improve your close rate by at least 20%. For asking the right questions and then turning around and using that information to cater your message to that person, their unique needs, the words they use, at least 20% increase in your close rate. And this could be huge for the people who you are hiring, to get them to be prepared to go out there and win the day. So let's talk about spin. Okay. Before you get to spin, you probably have to have some sort of opening. You have to get the foot in the door, some sort of lead generation. And so we're not necessarily talking about lead generation. You actually are having that meeting with them. It might be kind of considered maybe like a discovery meeting, where you're trying to get some more of this information. So, you know, and so once you are in front of them, you want to ask a question initially that helps you understand like the facts, the background, the kind of the lay of the land. But make sure that you do your research first. Don't come in asking simple questions. Like, let's say you're in B2B sales, right? And there's information on their website about who they love to work with, who your prospect loves to work with, or even at least what kind of products they might offer or services they might offer. If you walk in to a business and you say, "Hey, so what do you do here?" I mean, unless you're cold calling, maybe. I mean, if you're out there cold calling, cold knocking, or whatever, maybe you can get away with that with a little bit of swagger. But if you show up, if you've got an appointment set and you show up that day without doing any research, and your first question is, "So what do you do here?" Then yeah, you've probably kind of lost the day, because they're like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's here to waste my time. This woman is just going to, she has no idea what she's talking about," right? And so you're going to automatically come across as somebody who's just not knowledgeable, or at least not willing to do the work. So do a little bit of research first. You could, ask a situation or question like, "Okay, so I see that you offer these and these products. I'm just curious, like which one is like your primary? Like, what do you sell the most of?" Uh, that would be a little bit more of an appropriate question, because it might not say that on the website. You might not be able to find that information out there, but you could dig in a little bit deeper and ask that sort of question. You might even ask questions like, okay, so I understand that you're dealing with this sort of issue, right? Going back to the hiring, right? So, I understand that you're having difficulty hiring people. Um, how long have you had, how long have you been challenged with this, right? You might even be able to ask, or if you're trying to understand like the lay of the land of the business, for as an HR consultant, you might be, oh, so I looked online. It looks like you have 50-ish employees. Is that accurate? Right? You want to ask a good question there. Maybe you're a real estate agent. Let's say you might just say, hey, how long have you lived in this neighborhood? I saw that online the last time this house sold. It was in 2016. Is that when you bought it? And if you should be able to find some of that information, but you might just kind of confirm that, right? Or you might just say, "Oh man, how do you like this neighborhood, or what attracted you to this neighborhood?" Just getting a lay of the land, some of those basic facts, right? A home cleaner might say, "Well, what's the average amount of time you spend cleaning your home?" It's just kind of a simple question, just kind of trying to understand the basics. And a business coach might say, "Do where do your referrals mostly come from?" Right now, problem is actually getting into what are their challenges, what are their difficulties, what are their dissatisfactions. And so an HR consultant might say, so how difficult is it for you to recruit skilled people? Of course, that I say HR consultant, but we as a business coaching company, we actually help people as well with that. But HR consultant is a good example. Real estate agent, is there a reason you're wanting to move out of the area? Home cleaner, is there a certain area that you've just never been able to get seem like clean enough? Like, what about behind the toilet? Do you ever get back there and really scrub? Yeah, I know that's a tough place to get to, isn't it? Yeah. Business coach, you might just say, hey, are you happy with the quality of the referrals that you're getting? Does that seem to actually be a good source of quality new customers that have a good ROI? Are you happy with that quality? And then we get into the implications. Okay. So we know what the problems are. The implications are, what are the consequences of those problems continuing if they're persisting? And what are the effects of those causes? So an HR consultant for this, for understanding the implications, might ask, how long do you think your employees will stick around with an increased workload? If you're not able to hire enough employees and keep them around so that they're properly trained, is that affecting your other employees' abilities to get things done in a reasonable time with a reasonable workload? So, how long do you think they're until they leave? Like, how long do you think you have until your turnover rates just increase because they're just tired of it? That real estate agent that we were talking about, they might ask, how would it impact your kids if you don't get into this new school district before the beginning of the year and have to change mid-year? So you're putting that urgency in that homeowner who's trying to sell their home and trying to find a new home. As a real estate agent, there's some real implications if they just kind of wait. If they're not really being urgent about it, they might not have actually thought about, oh my gosh, yeah, that's going to be really hard on the kids if we don't get this done by the end of the summer so that we can get them enrolled in the new school and settled and going, right? For that home cleaner, how will cleaning your home yourself take from family time once you start your new job? So in this kind of scenario, maybe the homeowner that you're talking to that is needing home cleaning services, maybe they're starting a new job. Maybe they're trying to figure out, how do I balance all these things? And so you might say, man, how is that going to affect your family dynamics? I mean, is that going to be kind of a point of frustration? If you ask your kids to do more chores, what's going to happen there? Are they going to step up and do it and say, "Yeah, I'm happy to help out"? As a business coach, asking about like just lead generation and the referral process, how will low quality referrals affect your revenue goals this year? Are you getting a bunch of low quality referrals that you're just wasting your time chasing around, that like you can't even follow up on the good leads because you're too busy chasing all these bad leads, because you don't want your referral partners to look badly on you because you dropped the ball and didn't call somebody back, right? All right, let's talk about the need payoff questions as we're kind of closing things up on this basic understanding of spin selling. Okay, the need payoff. That's where we actually look at, hey, if we give you what you need, what's the payoff going to be? What's the value it's going to bring to you? How is it going to be useful? How's it going to improve your results? So, an HR consultant asking about the recruiting, right, might say, how would a better recruiting system improve your production? That real estate agent we talked about, how would getting into the right house before school starts help your family's transition? That home cleaner, what would you do with your family with the time that we free up for you? That business coach, how would higher quality referrals affect your bottom line? We want folks not to just think about their problems and not just necessarily think about the implications of those, but we want them to visualize life after you've given them the solution. Visualize the life that their investment in your offerings was able to give them. This is a big part missing in a lot of sales, I'll say. And there's different ways, more nuanced ways to get to it, but when you can get people to actually say, "Oh my gosh, I can see it," or I can taste it, or I can, feel it, they're going to be much more likely to say, "Okay, yeah, I want this now." People are impatient. When people really know they want something, they're typically going to be much more likely to take action. But if they don't connect, because like seeing is believing, and maybe you can kind of show them what life might look like. Like maybe if you do kitchen design, maybe you can show them that 3D design of that kitchen, right? This is what it's going to look like. Maybe if you're really good with your AI animation, maybe you can even get kind of like a picture of them in their own kitchen. If I would get, before you start using their Facebook pictures, make sure you get approval of that. Say, hey, is it okay if I just kind of take a picture, social media picture, like put you in the kitchen? It might be kind of fun. Might work that in a conversation. That might be something interesting to explore. But help them visualize it, because then they're gonna want it. They're gonna be like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, please take my money. So that's an overview of kind of that consultative process. Again, that's once you've already got that lead and you've got that appointment set, you got that opportunity. Sometimes in lead generation, on a cold call, even, or walking in, maybe you can kind of start that process, getting them to think about what really the issue is, and oh my gosh, I really need to talk to you. So depending on your sales process, you might be able to kind of break that up between a couple of conversations, but I highly recommend that you take the time to really think about, what is my sales strategy? Okay. And if you struggle with that, let me know. I mean, reach out to me, matt@timeforsuccess.io. Happy to help you with that. We do this kind of stuff every day. There's a lot that goes into being the most competitive in the market and making people understand that, like, they don't want to work with anybody but you. And we help to break that down and simplify that. So feel free to reach out, as well as if you're having trouble recruiting good people to in sales or anything else, we do have systems for that. So thank you so much for listening to us today, and we're happy to talk with you more. We actually do have an Entrepreneurs Ascending community And if you would like to have more information on that, we've got some private coaching within that. We've got an online e-learning academy with that. Please reach out again, Matt at timeforsuccess.io. Would happy to help you and help your team get the life that you dream of. Thanks. Thank you for being with us today. But now is the time to put what we talked about into practice. Remember, your family, employees, and community are depending on you to rise up and win. The great news is you're not alone. You're part of a resurgence of entrepreneurs who are ready to take their business, life, and impact to the next level, and we're going to do it together. This show is powered by Time for Success, where we help business owners every day who want more freedom and wealth while building a legacy of positive impact. Please follow Time for Success on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for more helpful strategies and tools for creating the business and life of your dreams.